It's
I'm
live
trying to
now.
stay on.
Okay.
She said the meeting's now on YouTube.
Yeah,
Turn
we're gonna go
around.
ahead and call the
Reflect.
Public Works Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, the 25th of May, 2021. It's good to see everybody. David, it's good to see you. I'm
Nice to see you.
glad to see you. And the ladies, and where are you all here?
We're here for the Deer Point traffic calming study.
Okay, Deer Point.
Number 2.
And that's on item 2, okay. And Mr. Giles, if you will tell me about I know what you're here, but just for the record, and then what we'll do is we'll add you to the agenda.
All right.
If there's no objection.
104 Stately Court. Purchase. Short, sweet, I guess.
Okay, if there's no objection from the committee, that's in Ward 6, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if there's no objection, we'll just go ahead and add him to the agenda and we'll go ahead and let everybody identify themselves for the record, and starting with Alderman Peterson.
What are we doing?
He's focused.
Your name,
Hi, I'm Lee Peterson.
Alderman Ward 2, right?
Yes.
Keep free, planning director.
Pat Campbell, Ward 2.
And our visitors,
Linda Bassani, Deer Point HOA.
okay?
Heather Sullivan with Halo Realty.
David Giles, 104 Stately Court.
Sarah Fox, city engineer.
Andy Gilly, Parks Director. Good to see you.
David Robertson, Alderman Woods.
And I'm Mark Skidmore, Alderman and Chairman of Public Works of Ward 1. Okay, we'll go ahead and try to move with this and expedite some of this as quickly as we can, because I see I would rather deal with people that have come here this evening, because we're on a limited time. We've got an hour this evening. We normally have a lot of time, but for tonight's purpose, because there's such a short agenda for the board, everybody's agendas are cut to an hour for our committee meetings. The minutes, I need a motion.
Moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's been a proper motion and a proper seconding for any discussion on the minutes. Hearing none, is everyone ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Okay, we've got the minutes out of the way, and now we're going to move on to the Deer Point calming, and Linda and Heather are here this evening. If there's no objection by any of the aldermen or anyone in the room, we'll go ahead and let us hear what you all have to say. And I don't care who goes first. If you all don't care, you go ahead. Linda or Heather, which one?
Well, here's what our property looks like. Deer Point looks much larger on the map, but it's actually a very short curvy road with blind spots. We
Okay.
have children walking to the bus, people walking their dogs, deer crossing. There's no sidewalk. There's no room for a sidewalk. The road is very small and people fly through there. We've had an accident every winter and each one has been significant. This winter, right outside of our parking lot, a guy took out a telephone pole. The year before, a car flipped over at the bottom of the hill. We're trying to get, lose my voice again. We're trying to get traffic to slow down. And we were thinking of, thank you, possibly, I'm getting over a cold, 15 miles an hour, which would bring people more than likely to 20, because people always go faster than the speed limit. Anything we can do to slow it down. We were thinking of speed humps instead of speed bumps, because we can't use those because of the fire department. We're all concerned about safety. People walking their dogs have actually been run off the road. There is a woman who walked around with me to get a petition, and she said twice she has had to leap off the road to keep from getting hit. And because the road is so narrow, if someone is walking and someone swerves to go around, they're on the other side of the road, on the wrong side of the road. And I don't know if you want me to read any comments that were submitted to us from anyone from the neighborhood, or the basic premise is safety for our neighbors.
Let me ask you that, and Sarah, you may be able, since this went through the safety or the traffic and safety committee, what was the response of that committee? What was the result?
The result was to remove currently they have the roadway signed at 10 miles per hour.
But that's not for Deer Point. That's not for Deer Point Drive. That's for Deer Point Lane. We have no speed limit sign for Deer Point Drive.
There is right at the entrance, it's facing the roadway for 10 miles per hour.
For the other road. It faces the other road. It doesn't face Deer Point.
Okay, well, then it's not signed at all, but that 10 mile per hour sign, when you're driving on it, does appear to be for the traffic on Deer Point Drive. So even if there's no signage, there's no signage, but I collected the data, and the outcome was that the speed limit should be either 30 miles per hour or 35 miles per hour based on the 85th percentile speed, which was 33. And so I sent the recommendation to sign it at 30 miles per hour with police enforcement for the targeted timeframes to try and target the high speed drivers. There was an alternative. The outcome was to install the 30 mile per hour speed limit sign, which hasn't been completed yet, because when I contacted Heather, she indicated that the residents would like to be heard publicly and discuss. But the alternative that I sent was to install 25 mile per hour speed limit signs, but also with that to install the longitudinal pavement markings. So the pavement was actually 26 feet. So there would be adequate width to provide 10-foot drive lanes and kind of restrict that, which holistically slows people down, because when you feel, like you don't have as much space, if you're passing someone on a very narrow road, you automatically slow down. And that's what the pavement markings do for us. And that would provide a little bit of walking area as well, if that were.
Since there's no sidewalks.
Right. With the curvature, it still isn't ideal. Sidewalks would be better.
The people walk on that road.
Oh, yes. People walk their dogs. They walk to the mailbox. Children use that road. There's a bus stop. You know where the bus stops are?
It looks like, from just what we can see, there is a bus stop on Anderson, and there's also another one that is on Deer Point Drive. So you have quite a bit of people that are at the top of the hill, and then the mailbox kiosk is at the bottom of the hill. So you'd have to cross Deer Point Drive to get to the mailbox kiosk if you're walking that way. You'd also have to cross Deer Point Drive to get to the school bus pickups as well.
School bus, when they put their stop sign up though, everybody's supposed to stop, both directions. So hopefully people are following all that.
With that striping like you're talking about, I think that would calm the traffic and then give sort of a sense of safety on the sides. How wide would those? And I guess it'd sort of be like a bikeway, pedway, sort of, would it be 4 foot or 5 foot on both sides?
Since there's 26 feet, you could leave 2 feet on one side and then do 4 on the other with 2 10-foot drive lanes. Which would be
I was going to say now, are you all through? Because what we'll do is then we'll have the committee begin to ask our questions, because I'm sure we all have several.
One of the things we'd like to add to those signs that people have in their neighborhoods that say caution children. Also deer crossing, to help slow people down, especially at that curve. It's a blind spot. And if there is a car stopped on that road, then people going around that car are on the other side of the road and you can't see.
Thank you all.
So-
Heather, did you have something?
Just on the school bus situation,
Yes.
that was one of the things I do have. They do have the stop signs on the school bus, but they are really early in the morning. And so the children do have to wait on the side of the road in the grassy area or on that curb. So there's really not a designated area for them to wait for that school bus.
Is the
either.
sign there?
For
already?
the school bus pickup, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so, okay. And that's anticipated to be placed upon there, is that right? Do you know? From the
Um,
county?
No, I-
It's speed limit sign, what she thought.
yeah, I was
Okay,
talking.
and I know about the
speed
speed,
limit
yeah, I know we're in charge. of
It
that.
wouldn't really be an appropriate
Place to put
situation
something
for a
like-
school zone sign, I think maybe. is what you're
I see,
thinking.
Yeah,
What I spoke with Heather earlier, and I did tell her that I would take a look at the alignment and in combination with where the school bus pickup is, because there are warning signs that you can install in a school bus stop that schools not ahead. But you have to only install them at visibilities.
it's an issue, okay. Okay, committee members, do you all have any questions? And I believe
Yeah. So,
Alderman Roberson.
so what's the accident report on this road? The historical accident report?
There, over the past 3 years, all that was in the system for HPD was 2 accidents, and they were both deer related.
Keith, I don't know if this would qualify for sidewalks with some of the federal grant money that we get. Is this in that category of,
It's too far,
too far?
too far east.
And
This
how,
is near Bonita, near Bonita, right? Yeah, that's too far east.
It's a very difficult topography out there as well. It's like they're saying, it's the horizontal curvature, but then the slope coming in on the top side is significant.
Is there someone,
and
one
then
of the
it
streets
slopes
going
down.
like a little hill or something around there? I was trying to think. and
It's
I-
a cut through. People use it as a cut through between Bonita and Anderson.
That's what I was talking about. Okay, thank you.
And it's very narrow and curvy, and it's not very long, and people just zip down, especially during rush hour. People are going to work and they're going,
It's right next to the development that was just proposed, I think a couple months back, right on Anderson Lane, is that same street. And it's actually the townhomes right next to that development, so on that same pass
All
through.
right.
so is the problem, could we put a sign that says local traffic on? Or is that an important, bypass?
That is.
Yes, it's not appropriate application for that.
What about the speed humps? How do you, is that possible?
We don't install those typically on public roadways. Outside of parks have.
So you have not looked at the alignment yet, gone out there and looked at that, and I mean, that's not like a set of questions. If you
Yeah.
haven't done it yet, it probably does need to look at before we make a decision, if at all.
Well, I've driven the roadway. I think that if you wanted to, you can make a decision on some of it, but as far as placing the bus stop ahead signage, that I have to.
Okay,
So there is a bus stop on this road.
That's what they've said.
There's 2 bus stops. And right now, children either have to wait in the road or the grass. Could we pour a pad so that they could get off of the road and, at least provide some safety for children getting on the bus? A pad of, say, I don't know, 25 feet,
Right.
a small sidewalk right in there so they could get off the road.
I'm not certain that we would be able to accomplish that just because the roadside slope is pretty severe over there. So they put curb in, I guess, probably a couple of years ago, or maybe even less. I don't know if you recall when they put curbing on that road, but right as you get off the curb, it starts to slope down a little bit, not a little bit, slopes down.
So we could put sidewalks on it if we wanted to.
It would be a significant project.
You'd have to almost lift up the gradient to do it because it's such a steep decline, so.
you could put the 4-foot side on the side where the bus stops are. So you could put it on either side.
For the striping.
Yes.
So there's not room on either side of the street for a pad that children could wait on that road for the bus.
I would have to look at the exact location of wherever the bus stop is. I haven't seen that exact location yet. But is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right there.
Yeah.
So what about the signs they mentioned about children at play, deer crossing, something that would visually, hopefully catch some people to slow down? Would that be possible for the city to put up some of those signage?
It would. So deer crossing, since we have a history with crashes with deer, maybe really appropriate. And not that we love our children's signs aren't appropriate, but they may benefit more from some horizontal alignment warning signs with maybe advisory speed around the curves. I tend to think something like that may be more beneficial than our children, especially considering that these don't have individual driveways accessing the road. And so when you see that sign without the individual driveways, it doesn't necessarily trigger the same response from drivers.
Well, I'm shooting blanks. I'm trying, but
Well, I mean, we
I think
could
we all
install them. I just tend to think maybe the curvature warning signs might provide more benefit to bring more awareness to the fact that the roadway is.
It seems like more signs might be better, but actually the fewer signs, but that are more appropriate, will probably have a bigger impact. If there's just like 5 or 6 signs out there and they're all clustered together, people will just, over a period of time, they'll just ignore those. But if there's properly placed signs, like I think what you're talking about the curve, that will catch, someone's attention.
Pat, did you have?
Well, I just a couple
That's a
things.
good
I could
point.
have the PD step up traffic enforcement over there so they could rotate in that street a little bit more often and maybe slow people down a little bit just from traffic enforcement. I was curious, so what was the highest speed you had on your traffic study?
It was 51 miles per hour
51?
at almost 11 p.m.
What was it? Sequoia, was it Sequoia, I think it was, or
Yeah.
about 120 in the morning.
Yeah.
What time of day was that 51?
10:50.
10:50, okay.
At night.
We have one person that was in the neighborhood coming out at about 120 miles an hour at about 6 o'clock in the morning, every morning. And the thing was, we've got a PD over there, slow him down.
Yeah, they did dramatically.
Because every day, if you're going to come out of there every day at about the same time doing the same thing,
Well,
you take it.
Where, I can tell you right now, where we can hang our hat on this with the deer. But I don't
Yes.
know if that's gonna be because we've had accidents over there with deer related issues. But I really don't know if that's gonna slow down anything, really. I just, I don't know. I mean, do you all think that it's gonna slow a deer?
Do you think the HOA would be satisfied with the striping?
I just don't know how that works as far as slowing people down. You're talking about a striping in the center of the road?
No,
or
it's
on the
worked
side?
on Jefferson.
And Benita.
Mhm.
Yes,
So it
but
would
these
be-
especially.
It's really.
You're talking about on the sides of the road?
On few, it'll have the double yellow center line and then the white edge lines. But it's not gonna be the full width of the roadway. So since there's 26 foot of pavement, it'll provide 2 10-foot drive lanes. So instead of one car, because it's not a very high volume roadway. So if there's just one vehicle traveling and they see 26 or a 26-foot wide pavement, they feel very free to go as fast as they want. So even though that you have that curvature and the children, they feel like they can go 50 miles an hour. But if you restrict that down, it changes a driver's perception and they automatically drive with more care and they drive more slowly. It's like driving on a 50-foot roadway as opposed to driving on an 18-foot roadway. You just naturally slow down a little bit. And it's been very effective in other locations where we've used it.
It almost gives the people walking their dogs, excuse me, or the kids getting off the school bus, the safety zone, because it's striped and you can have 2 foot on one side and 4 foot on the other. And the cars see that and they will automatically slow down. But also I think it's a benefit for the neighbors and the people that want to walk.
Could we mark it, one of those lanes is a bike lane, designated bike lane, but for when people know there are bike lanes too, it causes people to slow down. You know, on one
Yeah.
lane, it's called share roads, the entire road is, the entire width of the road is shared on one lane,
True.
so, you know.
If we have if the 4 feet is the minimum for that, so we have 4 feet.
So I'm ready for the motion.
Okay.
Unless you.
No, I'm fine. I'm just, I'll be really honest. I'm like you guys. I'm looking for anything
Yeah.
that we can to help you. We really are. And I'm coming up.
Would it help if you came out to see it?
Well, it might actually, but we've got a motion that's gonna be asked to be made, but I think that would be one thing for me to come out there and look at it.
I'd be happy to show you.
Okay.
Well,
I really-
it's about like, try something. If that doesn't work, we'll revisit it.
Yeah.
So, but our traffic committee has made a recommendation to, so my motion would be to adopt the recommendation of the traffic committee. Traffic teaching. There, for that,
Well-
the striping is what I'm talking about.
It would be
The
a
second.
recommendation by the traffic.
Yeah, I move that we do that with the addition, since 2 wrecks have been caused by deer. I don't know if it will help, but if we could put some sign up, that's not going to stop the deer, but maybe it'll stop people from driving. I mean, let's try that too. So, and then maybe can you set up this instrument again, say in another 3 months, and run the same kind of test, the average speed, 85th percentile, you know, and so let's put it back on for 3 months. And share to see if this has helped. So I'll make that.
Okay, there's been a motion.
Second,
Proper second, we discussed it. Now, does anybody need the motion repeated? Well, before I back up, I get real fast on my motions and things. I'm known for that, but that's just years of being in here. I know how to do that. But do you need the motion repeated, what we're gonna do?
I have one
Yes.
question on it though.
Yes.
Is that with the 30 miles an hour or with the 25? Because I assumed that the 30 miles was the first
That's
proposal.
for the 25.
Okay.
Does everybody understand that, with the 25 sign? Okay. Any other discussion about the motion? One is to adopt the traffic committee's recommendation, and that is to stripe the road. Is that good? Do you need anything else on that?
Traffic engineers.
Yeah.
The traffic engineers.
The committee recommended the 30.
Okay, and the traffic and the 25, we want the 25 mile.
one deer crossing.
And the
sign.
one deer crossing sign. We've got more deer crossing signs in the city of Hendersonville than Twin Owls Mountain, Wyoming.
And with that motion, I'd like to add that we asked the Public Safety Committee to also see if they could step up some periodic
And
enforcement.
then we
Yes,
would
sir.
ask Pat if you would. do
Yes,
that
sir.
for us.
Sure.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, a note right here.
Okay, great. So put that, and we're gonna have some increased police
Sure.
patrolling over there in Deerfield. So you can let your guys know, that doesn't mean unlock your doors at night or lock, not to lock them, but they'll have some included.
When does the traffic tend to be the heaviest over there? Or is it, is there a particular time you notice people flying through the neighborhood? Or is it just
Rush
all
hour.
day? random?
Well, mainly at rush hour, people going to work in the morning, and then unfortunately, when the kids are going to school in the morning, that's the morning rush hour, and then in the evening from anywhere between 3 and 6 p.m.
All right. I just ask that because there are certain times that people get on the gas and they need to slow down.
I can send the data over to Josh as well.
That'd be good. I appreciate it.
Sergeant Morris.
That's another note. Traffic enforcement, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, there's been a motion and a proper motion. And a
Second.
Proper second. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion on anything pertaining to Deer Point at this point? No pun intended. All right, everyone ready to vote? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. So that's what we're going to do at first. And then also in that motion, I neglected to say, but it will be known that we're going to review it in 3 months. Is that correct?
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. That'll be part of the motion too, because I think I said. That's how we'll get that in there. That's part of the motion, be 3 months. And then we'll take a look at it again in 3 months and see if, if there's anything going on. But if there's anything that you all think from now until whenever, always call us at Public Works or the committee or any of the aldermen, and we'll be right on it. So, but thank you all for coming, and let your folks know you all did a good job tonight. So if anybody's watching on YouTube, you did a good job, and we look forward to working with you in the future. All
Thank
right?
you.
You're very welcome. All right, let's go on to, and then Sarah, just keep us posted on Deer Point, what's going on over there. And I'm gonna run over there and look at it too.
Thank you.
Probably tomorrow, actually. All right, thank you. All right, let's see here. Resolution 2021-27 authorizes submittal of the application for the Community Development Block Grant, and I believe that is yours.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm here for Grant Green, that oversees the community development block grant funds. This is just the action plan on how we're looking to spend the money we're going to be receiving by August from public government with community development block grant funds. I will note one thing that when this is approved, hopefully move forward, that HUD has sent us and sent the mayor here in the last couple of weeks, that the number that they gave us, it actually has increased.
Okay.
So it's increased by $3,436, which will equate to a total of $236,572. $209,072 of that we're looking to do on street and drainage reconstruction and sidewalks in low to moderate income parts of town. $20,000 in administrative costs, and then $7,500 to work with Sumner County Habitat for Humanity to do a pilot repair project in the city of Hendersonville.
Okay.
I can answer any questions anyone might have on this.
If this is approved this evening, when will we place this on the agenda? 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Have the roads been picked out? They're
No.
Going to be paved,
No,
sidewalks.
no, and what we do, it has to be within the low to moderate income areas. What we do is we stay somewhat general with that. So that then, once we receive the funds, then we'll work with the Public Works Department and look at what projects we can do. We'll be looking for projects if there is something that would have typically been done with general fund that we can do with community development block grant funds. We will do that. This would be the most money we've spent on roads in a while for this particular program because we've been committing a lot of funds to the senior center. So this 209,000 will be more road work than we could have done. It could be sidewalks, road. Now, keep in mind that when we're doing roads within these areas, they don't allow us to do maintenance. So if we're doing a road, it's got to be a reconstruction. We're ripping the whole road up, putting curbs and gutter in. But it could be on extending sidewalks, making things ADA accessible. Also, we can do it with drainage improvements as well. So there's quite a few things we can do. We're just kind of limited to the areas that we can do that.
Has the federal government put any additional strings attached to this money?
Not yet. To these funds, we don't anticipate these funds will have those strings. I do anticipate potential in future years as well. This is something that I brought it up several times. This is something probably after we receive this funding, I want to really revisit and come back to Loma and talk probably to this committee and talk about pursuing maybe getting out of being a participating jurisdiction where we don't automatically get the funds. That way we could compete on the state level for the state CDBG funds, which would allow us to do more than what we're doing with this. So, and plus, it's, like I think I've said a couple times, $236,000 seems like a lot of money, but with the strings attached and administrative hassle of it, it's quite difficult to deal with. And then if there are additional strings
That's what
attached to this, we want to, because city could get in a situation where there are additional strings attached that could impact our local zoning ordinances.
Yes, yes, very much
And then
so.
we'd just be doing that for $236,000. So we just need to be kind of wary of that. Be careful.
I move approval.
Okay, there's been a motion.
What was that total again? 209?
Yeah, it's
I just put 209 down.
$236,572 is the new number, with
Right.
$209,072 going to street and drainage reconstruction and sidewalks in low to moderate income areas, $20,000 for administrative costs, and $7,500 for a new pilot program with Sumner Habitat for Humanity to fix somebody's house up a little bit.
Okay. And I will interject here. I'm abstaining because I work for HUD and CDBG.
Okay,
So it's not so much a conflict of interest, but I have to abstain.
sure. I second the motion on that, and we'll put that, we'll make a note of it that you're of your standing on the vote. With a well, it's not really a conflict, but it's right. Your job, I guess, works with them, so that's what the problem entails. Okay. All right, is there any further discussion on this? And I agree with you, just my only comment, and then we'll go ahead and vote on it, is I think my personal opinion is it may be Hendersonville's probably might be outgrowing this program. That's what I think. And Pat.
I just want to ask a quick question. Do we have the physical geographical area of the area that meets the CDBG guidelines?
Yes,
Okay.
we do. It's in that
Okay.
plan, roughly. It's,
About like it was last year?
Yeah, it's like it was last year. It goes down through New Shackle Island,
Mhm.
sort of in that area, and then goes down the whole left side of the Walton Ferry Peninsula.
Okay.
It's sort of that whole area. And there's a donut in the middle in there that's actually close to Dunkin' Donuts and that other donut place too. So there's a donut hole in there that we can't do stuff. All right, this is the defined area.
Good deal. All right, any further discussion? And we'll be seeing this in 2 weeks at the Board of Aldermen. For us, if there's any further discussion on that, is there, and saying that, is there any further discussion on this tonight? Hearing none, is everyone ready to vote? All in favor signify of resolution 2021-27 signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And
Abstain.
one abstention. Passes on to Bowman 2 weeks. The next item we have, we've only got about 2 or 3 more items on the agenda. We're doing really good on time. Is the discussion of the current status of the golf cart of the barn out there. And Andy?
As you all are aware, the cart barn buckled a little bit during the ice storm.
Yeah.
We've been kind of going back and forth with insurance. They denied our original claim. We're at the point now where we're ready to ask them to reconsider that officially. I gave you all a couple of handouts that shows a letter memo that Mr. Eckenroth has sent to Mr. Bradley for him to send to the insurance company.
Okay.
In addition to that, the golf commission, I was able to find the motion. The golf commission voted to recommend to BOMA that if a satisfactory settlement with their insurance company was not reached on the golf cart barn issue by June 4th, and they would ask BOMA to seek arbitration. Obviously, the golf commission can't seek arbitration. You all would have to vote to do that. There is a little bit of a time window in there of 90 days. That's why the June 4th date came into play. We have that amount of time to seek arbitration with the insurance company, and that arbitration is the remedy. We disagree with if they continue to deny the claim, they adamantly disagree with it.
And have you sent the letter
As far as I know, that goes from Mr. Bradley.
Okay.
Mr. Eckenroth sent this memo to Mr. Bradley to give to.
So you don't know, well, he just did it. I see.
Right, it happened today, actually.
So we don't know. We'll ask John. We'll have Public Works, I guess, or yourself, or we'll just ask him tonight if he's, I'm sure he hadn't had time.
I would say that would probably need to be discussed in an executive session that is discussed at all tonight. If not, June 4th, hopefully we'll give you all
Enough
a
time.
chance on June 8th at the meeting if you need to take any action yourself.
Has insurance been out there to give you estimates?
Oh, yes, we've had many estimates. Engineers have looked at it. They sent their own engineer and, but basically our best guess and estimation that we've been given is it's gonna be cheaper to replace it than repair it. 30-year-old car barn.
Oh, replace the entire
Is that
building?
the one on the right?
Yeah, as right as you come in the park.
What are those estimates?
I don't want to speak for Marshall. He's not here. He's been in charge of all that. My best guess is it's upwards of 250 plus. But the cart barn is insured for 373,000 for replacement value.
And we've been paying premiums for that company.
And that was reviewed as little as a few months ago.
Okay. All right. Well, is there any discussion that we need to make on that tonight?
I don't think there's any action you need to take at this point. I think you need to be prepared. Hopefully it won't get to that point. Hopefully they'll come around. This is unique for me since I've been an employee. They've been really good to deal with us on other issues.
Well, it's kind of strange that they're balking on this, to be honest with you.
Pretty,
They're claiming fungus and dry rot is the reason for the denial. So the reason we have to act on it is because there's a statute of limitations in the
Yes.
policy. So I'm concerned, and I want to try to get with Mr. Bradley,
Okay.
because we don't need to sit on this. You know, we need to get this filed so the clock stops, so that they won't run out the clock. And so,
Okay.
so if they don't resolve this, if they don't offer,
Well, we'll need to act.
BOMA will need to act on the 8th, and I don't know if that's a resolution, Andy, or
It'd just be a motion by the board.
I know, okay. I'm willing to make that motion, being on the golf commission, because I think that
Okay.
the damage is clear.
Well, if that's okay with this committee, let's just get it on the agenda for the 8th of June to be discussed, and then, because we may have an answer before.
And I think it's good for the insurance company to know we're getting ready to go to war.
Yeah, I think they should know.
Is this building still usable?
It is usable. It is taking on water a little bit every time it rains now. We have stabilized the trusses where they buckled. But if you go out there today, you're standing on the putting green looking at the building, you can still see where the roof is.
Is it safe to use?
That's, I mean, we've stabilized it enough to where it's safe to use. Yes, sir.
Temporarily.
Temporarily. That was not a permanent fix at all. It was a $4,000 fix.
Yeah.
I believe.
Wow. And they know they've done that. Okay. Well, I'm ready to go to war about it myself. You know,
And I'll give the golf commission credit. They have done due diligence on this, worked hard on it. There's a couple members of that commission who are in the insurance business.
All right. Well, we'll make sure, we'll ask the mayor's office to have it placed on the agenda.
I'll place it on an executive session and let DEP notice that.
Okay, thank you. That'd be good. Any further discussion on the cart barn? Hearing none, we have one more that's on the agenda, but other business, we have a couple of items that we've got, is the ordinance 2021, which is in
It has a number 24, Robert.
24, and it's the Coca-Cola.
I move approval.
There's been a motion.
I have, and I had a question.
Yes.
Quick question.
Sure.
And I'm glad you're here, Director Gilly. This What is this Coca-Cola? Is that a grant or is that from funds from the,
It's an agreement we have with them for selling their products and
Okay.
concession stands. They've been for,
is
As long
that
as
a
I can
fixed
remember.
amount?
it's been a fixed amount at 5,000 for years.
Okay,
And we just this past year renegotiated our agreement with them where we get 5,000. Plus we put in some incentives for selling certain products and nobody knew what that number would be. And when the check came, it was 58, whatever the amount was on.
okay. So
And it goes specifically towards the scoreboard. repairs.
maintenance and scoreboards. So you've got $826. That's in excess of the amount we received from Coca-Cola. What is that amount for?
What do you mean?
I mean, is that for a particular scoreboard?
We just did work on fields 10, I think, with the scoreboard. We're trying to get them all to wireless and LED display. But we have some things go out throughout the years. We spend that 5,000 pretty quickly.
All right, that's all I needed to know.
So I renew my motion.
We've got a motion.
And I second.
There's been a proper second on ordinance 2021. Any further discussion?
It's only in 2 weeks since that final.
Okay, that's fine. It's okay. I didn't know if we need to. I'm assuming it passed. Yeah.
I'm about to go find out.
All right, well, doesn't matter, but either way, it'll be on there anyway. If they, I'm sure they will pass it. Any further discussion on the motion here? None. Is everyone ready to vote? All in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we have other business. Mr. Giles, we're here, and then we've got the mayor after David. Yes, sir.
All right, needless to say, the two people that hardly have a lot of answers to my questions are not here tonight. And I was really hoping that they would be here. Can't get them to return my phone calls, can't get them to return my emails. And of course, that being Marshall Boyd and John Bradley. When I do get a hold of Mr. Boyd, he says they've got something worked out, but they just don't want to tell me about it evidently. But as y'all know, this has been going on now for a long time. I've talked to a lot of y'all on a personal level because you can't fit it all in a small meeting. But my house was scheduled to close on February 10th, and here it is, May 25th, and I still haven't closed. There was a title search done in May of 2020 that showed that there was a lien on the property from HUD. For $6,600. I had time to get in all that, but I knew it was there. Mr. Bradley knew it was there. Everybody knew it was there. And we wait till the day of closing. I've got emails here documented where I had Miss Morrison, my liaison, who did a wonderful job. I told her I was afraid something was going to hold up our closing.
Right.
And I said, do we need to do a new title search? Do we need to work this out? Whatever. I don't want any surprises day of closing. This has been going on for 10 years. I want to close on this house. Well, she told Mr. Bradley my concerns. She told Marshall my concerns, and they did nothing. They just waited. The day of closing, an hour before closing, Mr. Bradley called me and said, what are we going to do about this? And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you going to do about it? You've known about it for a year. And so ever since then, they've been trying to resolve it. There's what he wants is a release from, he wants a statement of the total indebtedness. And he wants something saying that once it's paid, they'll release the lien. Now, Mr. Bradley has also told me in conversation, common sense, that if it was his house, that he wouldn't even worry about it. Because the city should just buy it with a lien on it, because the city's gonna, yeah, what does it matter? The city's gonna demolish the house, the land's gonna be there. Who cares if there's a lien on it? It's not going anywhere. There's no interest accruing or anything like that, so who cares? But he said he couldn't do that. You know, it'd have to follow city and laws and legal things. Another thing he proposed was putting a certain amount in the escrow, an escrow account. And the statute of limitations runs out in 2 years, he said. And that if they came to collect it he'd pay it, but if they didn't, they'd give me the money back. I agreed to do that 2 or 3 months ago. Again, nothing happened. He never replied to me. Every time I've called, I've had to call 4 or 5 times. Same thing with Marshall. I sent an email on the 28th, which I think most of y'all were CC'd on that email. And I got no reply. And so I started calling Marshall. I called on the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. Not one of those calls was returned. On the 12th, I called 3 times, and I finally got Marshall on the phone. He said, me and John have got something worked out. We'll get back to you. Here it is, May 25th. He still hasn't got back to me. Last week, I called on 2 days in a row. I think it was the 20th and 21st. Friday was the 21st. I called on the 20th. I'd already called on the 17th, Monday, Tuesday, and then I think it was Thursday. She said Marshall was in a meeting. He's in a meeting every time I call. She said that when he got out of the meeting, and this is Miss Morrison answering the phone, that she would give him a Post-it note, making sure he was aware that I called and returned my call. On Friday, I called back because I didn't hear from him and he was off. He didn't work Friday. Well, we had yesterday and today. He still hasn't called me. I don't think he's going to. But I'm trying to rush through this and I apologize.
So, okay, let me
Sure.
just jump in here, and I apologize. I'm trying to fill in the blanks.
Yes, sir.
Is this a flood house?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I'm new, so I don't know
Right.
anything that's going on,
Uh-huh.
and I just kind of picking up on what you're saying.
Right.
So, the city bought your property.
No, have not bought it. They're supposed to be.
Okay, they bought all the other surrounding
Yes, sir.
properties because it floods.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now there's an issue with the lien. Is that why the city won't buy it?
No, they're gonna buy it. It's just being postponed.
The lien is still out there.
Yeah, it's there.
$6,500.
Yeah.
John said put $10,000 aside in escrow account
Right,
2
and
years.
then in 2 years, the
If it
statute runs, and
runs
if it's
out,
not.
right.
back. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a delay. He's
Okay.
delayed it because he knew about this lien in May of 2020. But he waited till February 10th, 2021, the day of the closing, to start looking into it. I mean, to me, that makes no sense. He knew about it a year ago. And I asked in November, why didn't they look into it? A couple other things I want to point out. Back when, and Mark, this might invoke your name a little bit. This has been going on, Mr. Beeson, for a long time. I mean, I've been flooding for 10 years.
Okay,
We started trying to get the city to do something probably 6, 7 years ago. It started with Pat, started the stormwater thing.
And Marcus Waters. Yep.
And it was going to actually, before this grant was ever even mentioned, the city had already discussed buying the homes. The grant was sort of like a life raft to say, hey, we're gonna help y'all buy these homes. So they were already discussing buying them, whether the grant was in. The grant actually has slowed down the process because you have to cross so many Ts and dot so many Is with the federal government. But anyway, when they started negotiating this, I'm looking at an email I sent to Marshall back in March of 2020. And I invoked your name, Mark. Like I said, I
Yes.
attended many public works meetings, many, probably more than you have over the years. But anyway, we talked about the condition of the house and when they would buy it, what they would pay for it. And they said that they would pay fair market value as if the flooding had never happened. Well, my question, and this is where it gets iffy and hard to explain, is that there was other damage that was happening to the house. My roof was leaking. Well, I repaired the roof and I repaired the ceiling, but I didn't go in there and I didn't spackle it and dust it and sand it and paint it. Well, when the appraiser come out, he took off for that. And I protested and said, why would you do that? Because Mark said, that's what we were saying. Mark said, don't do any repairs to the house. Why would you do repairs to a house that you're gonna bulldoze down? Why would you do that? So we would fix what we had to, but we didn't repair ceilings or put a new roof on or put new gutters on. Well, then the appraiser took off of it and he lowered my value on this house at 165. Well, I immediately protested. I've got the only house on the street with a detached 2.5 car garage, the only house, concrete driveway. And they're paying more to these other people than they are for me. My house should be higher than theirs. Well, the appraiser, they went by, I said, get my own appraisal. That's what Marshall and them told me. So I did. Well, my appraiser appraised the house at 195. So I submitted that. I've got it with me right here today. And they got their appraiser, the city's appraiser, to go back out there. And he came up, resubmitted 180 to me. Well, this is again, May of 2020. I wanted to close. I wanted to move. My house is falling down. I said, I accepted that. I said, I'll take it at this point. I'm ready to close. That was a year ago. Now I'm not so sure if I want to take that. I brought some pictures here. And when I tell people that the house has fallen in, sometimes they think I'm exaggerating. But if y'all want to look, this is the laundry room floor. It's fallen in.
Let me, and David,
Yes, sir.
bless your heart.
Thank you,
You
sir.
had the patience of Job. But, Mr. Chairman, what can we do, or Mayor, what can we do to get this thing resolved?
Need to hear from John Bradley.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Marshall's probably not responding because John's
But
away talking.
it's a legal issue.
Right.
So how can we?
Well, we'll need to get John in here and if we need to have a special meeting, say what the hell's going on. And what the hell's going on with this, because this whole thing's been going on way too long. And it's my understanding, some of the houses have already been.
There's only 2 houses, and that's one thing I really want to rush and get this in. I apologize.
The mayor has.
All right, I apologize. I'll try. I know.
No, you've done fine.
So may we, Mr. Chairman, will you talk to Mr. Bradley?
I will talk
And
to
if
him.
need be, call an emergency meeting for this committee, but will you take the force?
Because he'll probably be here tonight
Okay.
and I'll talk to him.
I'd like to ask one question. There's a
Sure.
house at 110 Sabley Court, 3 doors down from me. They just came into the program. They offered it to them last year. They just bought the house last year.
Okay.
They paid 185. They said, no, we don't want to sell the house. Well, then they flooded. Then they said, okay, we want to sell it. I want to know what they're paying those people, because what I've heard, they're paying them 193. They're paying them $13,000 more because they're at a higher appraisal value, because property values, I brought paper tonight, have gone up 13% in Hendersonville.
Yeah.
And then the city was cutting their grass. I paid out $360 to cut my grass. But there's a lot more things, and I apologize because I know
That's
the
all right.
mayor
Well, here's what we'll do.
tried to rush through.
Yeah, here's what we'll do. I'll speak with him this evening
Uh-huh.
and then see where we are on this, because I don't know if you were, I was under the impression until I found out about all this, that everything was steady. It was just, going along. Apparently not.
I was told I'm supposed to close in June at the same time of the other house.
Okay, so you've been told to.
I was told by Marshall that that's the way he understood it.
Okay.
Mr. Bradley would confirm or call me back.
And that's June what, 10th?
Millage,
Middle.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Sure. Well, I'll find out this evening, and then we'll get into it. And yes,
I think that 10,000 escrow account, would answer that HUD issue.
yeah, I think you're right.
I think it would be fine too, as long as you come up to $195,000.
Well,
I mean, I'm at this point now, y'all, where I've sat here, I accepted 180 in 2020. This is 2021. And I think I should be
Well,
paid
I'm
fair
sorry
market
that
value
it's taken
today.
this long. That's not acceptable. I don't think anybody in. But anyway, okay, thank you. I'll get right on.
All right,
it,
thank you.
man,
And I'm sorry I did to the mayor's.
Oh, no, you're okay.
And I won't leave these pictures. Y'all can look at them. The floors, the grass, my ceiling's falling off, but anything y'all want to know, let me know. I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Oh, Chattanooga boy.
There, take care.
That's right.
So y'all remember in 2019,
you.
Southeastern developers wanted us to unannex, de-annex constrictor borders, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
back on Big Station Camp Creek Road. So we did that with the understanding that they would repair that road, I think within 2 years. I think is what initially we wanted within a year, but they agreed within 2 years. What they wanted was City of Gallatin to annex their property. Because they have plans for that property. They actually submitted something to us at one point. But we agreed to constrict our borders. Galvin's gonna annex it, and that was agreement that the road would get fixed in 2 years. That was in late 2019. It doesn't seem like there's been any movement at all. We get an awful lot of complaints from people, especially in Ward 5. The road is no longer our road. Technically, it's a county road. The county has, I've let them know a couple times that it's no longer our road, it's their responsibility. I've got no reply. Like I mentioned, there are people in Ward 5 that have asked multiple times what we're gonna do with that road, and I've explained to them it's not our road anymore. I can't think of any time in the history of the city where we have spent money on the road outside the city limits of Hendersonville. Paige Brown, Mayor of Gallatin, has asked me a couple times how much we're willing to help, and I've made it very clear that we helped by de-annexing that road. And that we will not see any revenue from the property. So it doesn't make sense for us to continue to work there. I did say, however, if they want us to annex the property nearby, then we would probably entertain the opportunity to do some work on the road as well as generate some revenue from that. And Paige and I get along fine, and she's trying to work out something and throwing what possibilities are. To do the fix that she suggests is $252,000. She's asked if we're interested in sharing that, any of that cost. My response was, I doubt it, but I will talk with her.
What do we get out of it?
We got out of it a better, we get out of it satisfaction from people, from our residents who travel that road.
Were we gonna annex some of them? here?
Southeastern is not interested in us. They want it all down.
There was some other property we were gonna get, but we haven't got that.
Yeah, at the very tail end of Saundersville Road, there's 7 houses there, and that was part of the deal, was that those be annexed by
Very
city. And
familiar with that.
the amount of property tax revenue is very small. Yeah.
Is any of that road in the HUD zone?
It is a bad road.
Well, my position is if we're,
It's a county road.
we're not getting any benefit. The only thing we're getting on this would be a glad hand on the back saying, thank you for $120,000 to get this, and that's it, you know? And I mean, as chairman of Public Works, that's my job, is to represent you all as well as the city on something like that, but there's no benefit that I see. Don't you agree with that, Mayor?
So if we get the 7 houses, is that Southeastern's decision or whose decision is that?
So we have a letter that says they want it to be annexed.
Yes.
Yeah, but they haven't started that process because they're waiting for the other thing to come forward.
So what if we come, because I know you want to take something back to Paige other than no.
Yeah.
Maybe. So what if we annualize the revenue we're going to make on those 7 houses?
Okay.
And say that's what we'll contribute.
It's a possibility. I have asked, so Paige has also asked, she has suggested that we should pave it because of the revenue we get from Rogers Group. We get about $22,000 from Rogers Group. That's in every bit of tax they pay. I don't know that should be in your formula. However, we do need to move forward with annexing that property because the intention was to get it before individual property owners bought it.
I think they were waiting, I think Southeastern was wanting the annexation from Gallatin, but they couldn't do it until the urban growth boundary was
That's
approved.
correct.
And then that just recently got approved a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So I'll check and see where that is. But I mean, really, the city of Hendersonville was very generous in
Yes, we
kind
were.
of lining this up.
Yeah.
But if we have the other side of the road, it may make sense at least for some amount, but not half.
I think the answer to your question is probably in the neighborhood of $7,000.
And ask her to get the county.
We asked
the
that,
county.
and
So
we've asked that. Judy has not expressed.
Didn't
any
they just get 11.9 million?
Yes, they did, and the county got 100 and something million.
So, well, you know, I mean, because the reason why I know all about that is because Scott, Mayor Foster and I, we were the ones that, yeah, we did talk, we did speak.
Appreciate that.
I've got
And
one.
worked
I
out,
remember.
and we worked out we worked out a heck of a deal on that, and nothing ever came about it.
So Keith and I will continue to work on it. We'll explore that.
Okay.
Well, please
I'm
come back,
there.
yeah.
I've got one
we're-
quick new item that I
Yeah.
want
Okay,
Public Works to do.
sure.
I would like Public Works to evaluate the Drakes Creek Mall pavement, parking lots. And I want them to evaluate it on the basis of, would it help if we did was it fog and seal? Fog seal, I mean, that's what we did out here on this road here, and it's helped make it last. I have driven out to the ballpark paving, and they're not in that bad a shape, folks. mean, we got a lot of streets in worse shape than that. So I would like, so whenever we discuss the budget, I would like for y'all to evaluate, is that an application that makes sense that could add years of life, some patching, but fog seal some of those parking lots that might help.
Doesn't fog seal last about 5 years?
When you stop.
3 to 5.
That's what I'm saying, it's, yeah.
3
It's real simple.
It depends on the
And you
starting
pay the
condition of
mortgage
the
off on
road.
your
they
house, don't
actually-
get to-
Well,
So
evaluate. I don't know if it's I'm just trying to think of
I
solutions.
think at least one section of Drake's Creek Park would benefit from fog seal. There are a couple of the others that are really bad. enough
Yeah, that's what it
drainage
says. Well, I got it
issues,
right.
but I don't know if it would be a benefit, but I'll look at it.
All right, thank you very much. We have one other item, and while our city attorney, John Bradley, is here, we wanted to ask you, John, about the
Mr. Giles,
property.
and we've been trying to close that for some months. Mr. Giles has a second mortgage on his property. But he says he didn't know that he borrowed $6,000 in 2009 and HUD has a lien against it. That's what we're trying to track down. And the payoff they gave him, he didn't want to close at that amount. So he's asked us to talk to HUD and see if we can get a lower amount for him. I've explained to him, we can't buy the property without clearing off all the mortgages, which everyone agrees to. So the problem is getting the payoff that he'll accept.
So as a closing date, it said,
Why would we set it till we know what we're gonna pay?
well, he claims that there was an agreement that $10,000 would be put in an escrow account.
I talked to the man, I don't know how many times. And what I told him was, I said, if we can't get a payoff from HUD, at some point, maybe we'll just escrow some money. But I said, I can't do that without the approval of the board. Yeah, I can't agree to take less than the amount of the mortgage. HUD told him it was gonna $10,500. So if I'm gonna do anything like that, I'm gonna escrow 12 or 15. But we're working on it. I talked again to the girl today that's in contact with HUD. She hopes to have something by next week. But this is all a creation of him not paying off a mortgage and blowing off a notice he got from a collection agency when it was due after he paid off his first mortgage. They told him to pay the second mortgage and he threw it away. We're still recording.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what happened.
What about one quick thing? He was talking about the price that he had was on an appraisal about a year ago, and that he felt like it should be another appraisal. Is that possible?
He disputed our appraisal. We gave him several $1,000s more. He hasn't paid his property taxes in about 6 years. There's a lot of problems.
It's a thorn under our side.
Yeah, we're trying.
Get that thorn out.
I need a motion before y'all leave. I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, okay, there's been a motion and a second to run. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes unanimously.
Do you want the next one?
Yes, I do. So now we kind of know, I'll need to call David on that, and we'll figure it out. I mean. And apparently there's,
The meeting, it's still.
okay, we'll work for this stuff out. Apparently what it is